So we are going to talk about AI decisioning today. And my name is Deanne. I'm the Senior Director for Enterprise Strategy in Silverbullet. And I'm here with my colleague, Justin. Silverbullet, before we start, probably some of you don't know us yet. And we are an end-to-end CX experience consulting partner. And by end-to-end, I don't just mean on the technical side. We actually work a lot helping clients build their data strategy, making sure before they invest in any technology, they actually have a solid reason of what do they expect from the technology. Yes, come on in. We're just starting. Thank you. For today, we are going to focus a session on AI decisioning, and this is a buzzword you've been hearing probably in the last couple of days. And our job here is to demystify it, make sure you understand, you walk away, have a clear understanding of what does it mean by AI decisioning, what kind of decision can AI help me with, and also how do we approach it as an organization. You will be walking away with a very practical framework of, okay, if I want to take this to my team next week, where do we start with AI decisioning? Middle of the session, we are actually showing you a demo. We actually tested this ourselves. We built an AI decisioning engine in Treasure Data using Foundry. So later, my colleague Justin will show you how that agent is working in practice. Before I dive into how AI decisioning works, I want to take a moment to draw a clear distinction. Clear distinction between insights engine and decisioning engine. So many of us have been benefiting using CDP as our insights engine, where machine learning is being performed to help surface insights to predict models. But for many of us, things kind of stop there. And it's still up to us, the marketeers, to decide what do we want to do with those insights. A decisioning engine, however, goes one step further. It actually evaluates the insights and helps you decide what's the best next act. So practically, it helps you move from prediction to action, from knowing what's the best next offer to realizing what's the next best customer experience within your business-defined rules. Let me bring this to life with a quick client story. So one of our clients in the US, a large apparel retailer, they have over 20 million data attributes sitting beautifully in their CDP. And they've done all the right things. They've cleaned their data, they've managed it well with compliance, they've done great segmentation strategy. But when we looked closer, their activation, they still struggle to create really meaningful and personalized experiences to their monthly customers who are at risk of churning. So the client said something that really stuck with us. He said, we have great data, sometimes almost too many ways to segment, and yet our activation still felt really blunt. This is a key difference in expectation between an insights engine, which surfaces what's possible to you, to a decisioning engine, which is capable of turning those insights into intelligent actions. So this really makes you reflect, have I truly uncovered all the insights buried in my data? And if so, well done. But is my activation as intelligent as the richness of my data allows me to be? So we are really talking about how do we bridge the gap between insight and activation. And we are looking to offload all those time-consuming work to choose between multiple options to intelligence. So today in our session, when we are talking about AI decisioning, we are really talking about a system that can help you enhance your decision-making process. And it must fulfill three things. First of all, it must build based on your machine learning. So you have, hopefully you have already identified patterns and you know where to find the insights from your data. And secondly, it has the capability to perform reasoning. So it looks into all the data points. It's able to compare, evaluate between multiple outcomes and help you determine what's the best action that better aligns with your business goals and constraints. And lastly, a decisioning engine should also be able to be trained over time to get better and better in predicting the best next offer for you to connect data science work with your marketing experiences. So that's the definition down for AI decisioning. Now I want to take a very brief moment to show you where the world is at with this topic. And I would have taken you through many more slides about trends, but my boss said you're at the last day of the conference, it's a late afternoon, people have been hearing about trends a lot, and I can feel that in me. So I'm just going to show you one trend, and it's upward and onwards from here. When it comes to AI decisioning as services or decisioning engine as a platform, we are looking at markets that's predicted to grow on average of 15% every year from now to year 2030. And there are three verticals where real-time decisioning capabilities aren't just theoretical. They're already reshaping how the industries respond to complex, fast-moved decisions at various degrees. A quick example, a US airline faced a very common challenge. They been applying a blanket compensation rule to every disrupted flight, let it be cancellation or weather. They didn't really look into the type of customer or the customer lifetime value for the airline. It was fair, it was efficient, but it wasn't necessarily smart for the business. So they brought AI decisioning into the process. Instead of this one-size-fits-all rule, they are now looking into the context of the customer, the reason behind the disruption, and also the type of flyer persona. For frequent flyer, the system will actually firstly predict that flyer's regular traveling month, and they will send out a compensation timed for those periods in the year, turning the frustration into loyalty and actually protect a business margin that way. For a new flyer, which the CDP probably didn't have much data for, they would offer a choice. They would ask the flyer to choose how they prefer to be compensated. So the results were really game-changing. They have improved the targeting accuracy by 200%. They score 8 times higher in their customer satisfaction score, and they prevented almost 60% churn. So this is the power beneath AI decisioning. It doesn't just tell you who might be upset in your customer database. It can also help you decide the smartest way to turn those frustration moments into a win for your customer and for your business. Now we've covered all the theory, and let's get to the main course. So how does it really work? At Silverbullet, we help clients demystify these buzzwords in the industry. We actually take a lot of joy and pride in doing so. We don't just give you a blanket concept. We like to break things into components. So today here, we have a 3-layer framework to really walk you through what comes together to form this AI decisioning engine. Layer number 1, sense. This is where we understand our customers. So this is where the system ingests, analyzes your customer data, your context data, your business data, and then through machine learning, they surface the insights and help you identify patterns and predict outcomes. Layer number 2, reason. This is where we start to draw contextual decisions. The system will then evaluate all the business constraints, predefined rules, guardrails, and help you compare between multiple options that could have been very labor-intensive for a marketeer to manage in their day-to-day. So this is reasoning and decisioning logic and generative AI in its play. And then the 3rd layer is act. This is where we design the marketing experience. It's all good to have options, but how do we make sure it works and is scalable within our Martech solutions through personalization, automation, and CRM effort? In the sense layer, this is arguably the layer we're the most familiar with because we are all very familiar of how to use CDP to uncover insights. The type of AI capabilities at work will mostly be machine learning, either descriptive or predictive, and the job is to identify what might happen with your database. At this stage, your CDP is telling you certain possibilities of your future, but they don't necessarily tell you what should we do about it. In the reason layer, the data signals then are better interpreted. And then the system starts to evaluate constraints, rules, and guardrails you have set it up in the pre-definition stage. And they need to consider all these elements in the sequence that you defined in the decision process. After they compare all these different outcomes, they should be able to decide on the best action for you, not just what, but why and when. So this is, in this stage, we'll typically see generative AI facilitating the reasoning process. We will be relying on language models so we can interact with the agent and better understand their train of thoughts. And we will also be building knowledge graph using RAG to make sure agents has a solid, information source to rely on. This is the core of the AI decisioning, sitting between where used to be all the data insights and your future marketing automation, let it be engage in treasure data or in your own suite of marketing tools. Now, the last layer is about act. This is where you design and deliver your experiences. So this is where AI agents would normally form an agentic workflow to work more autonomously. And this is where a generative AI might be leveraged to start tailor more creative assets so you can engage with your customers in a more dynamic way. So that is, in a nutshell, the 3 layers within an AI decisioning engine. And now my colleague Justin is going to show you a demo where we actually build the agent and how this agent has been helping us to translate insights into real actions.
Thank you very much, Deanne. So yeah, as Deanne mentioned, I'm going to take you through an example of how actually you can use this in practice, right? How can we use AI decisioning to actually solve a business challenge? So in this example here, we're going to show you a demo of an AI agent that we have built that helps prevent churn. So it helps deliver a best next experience for users for a fictional stacking FMG that we have sort of materialized. So just to get a little more overview of exactly what the agent is, the agent that we have designed here is a churn prevention agent. So what it does is it looks at customer insight that exists in your CDP today, but also takes into account all the business constraints and all of the information that exists around how you would come to making a decision, and is able to balance and provide a churn journey that is able to personalize, but also scale. So in this fictional FMCG that we're going to be talking about, they have a business challenge, right? They have a way too generic churn journey, similar to the way that the flight example that Deanne mentioned earlier. They, blanket rule for all of their at-risk customers. They have a small e-commerce shop where they're able to sell for certain brands, and they give everyone a promotion to this e-commerce shop, right? But it's very generic, and as a result of that, they're leaking margin because they're constantly clashing with other campaigns, and they're treating everyone the same. This is where we have an opportunity to use AI decisioning to actually superpower this and provide a really personalized experience, right? So by centralizing all of that business logic, like orchestrating the promotions, as well as also looking at all the insights and data, like customer lifetime value, churn scores, etc., we're able to apply AI decisioning and create rapid scale across this with this agent. So we're moving from, we're listening to the data, right? But we can't do anything with it. We're not providing an experience, right, that matches the data that we can see to actually driving decisioning with an agent. So just to give you a bit more context on this fictional FMG before I show you the demo, here we have an example of the 3 brands that exist within this portfolio, right? So we have Coco Luxe, which is like the high-end luxury premium chocolate. They're sort of pivoted more towards exclusivity. We've got Whirl, which is like a mid-range chocolate, mass market appeal. It's kind of like day-to-day, sort of rewards. And Coco Pop, which is the really affordable, cheap, I guess, brand. Its brand loyalty is really driven by its price point. And in this churn journey, on the right here, we have the business rules. And this is the really important part. This is the information we're feeding into our churn agent that lets it make those decisions. So it understands that it needs to retain customers. That's the main priority of this churn prevention agent. It needs to try and retain that customer. It needs to protect margin though, right? We don't want to retain at all costs. We want to make sure that we balance the promotion that we provide to that user in that churn with actually the value they give to the business. And more importantly, we need to make sure we protect brand image, right? So how can we ensure we don't maybe apply large discounts to premium brands, that's not what they're trying to achieve as a brand with their image. So this is actually what it could look like in a CDP setup, right? So you're ingesting your data into the CDP, all of your personal and demo data that you have on these users, engagement across marketing automation, the small amount of e-commerce data we have, as well as also all the other data sources that exist for this business. And then the CDP does what it does best, right? It cleans and prepares that data and unifies it into a single customer view. And we run machine learning on top of that, all the churn scores, all the customer lifetime value, all that insight that a lot of us are doing today, right now. This is where the AI decisioning layer comes in. Traditionally, right, you would then take those scores and try and activate them, and as best as you can, serve the right vision or the right journey to the right user. In this case here, we bring in AI, and that is able to take into effect things like margin protection, things like personal milestones. Does someone have a personal milestone coming up, right? Should we actually be serving them a churn journey? Or are we going to give them a promotion through another channel, right? Making sure we offer the right value. Or is this user high value or low value? Should we be maybe adjusting the promotion we provide to that user based on that? And finally, making sure it's scalable. Do we have enough users in the segment that we're providing to actually activate it into the channel that we want to? So the churn journey I'm about to show you in a second, or the churn agent in action, this is actually how it looks in terms of how it's actually designed. And what you see here is what everyone has been talking about, this sort of idea of an orchestrator. Kaz showed it today, right? This super agent that sits on top of it. Reality is that all agents are designed in this way, right? You have a main orchestrator, which is a sort of it oversees the whole operation and makes sure that information is provided to the right sub-agents, which have very specific prompts and tasks on how they sort of carry out those specific functions. So in this case here, the end user, in this case a marketer, provides a question. We ask a question to the main orchestrator around churn. The main orchestrator understands this is a question on churn and provides it to the churn agent. It prompts the churn agent to give us a response. The churn agent then in turn calls the insights agent, right? Because in the churn question, there might be a parameter like high value customer, low value customer, customers in the last 30 days, right? There'll be some sort of parameter that we're looking at for the data. So that is provided to the insight agent, which has access to the customer data. It runs its analysis on that customer data and provides its insight reports back to the churn agent. Now, what's really important about here is that then the churn agent then combines those insights that it's got from the insight generator, and it combines those with all of the business logic that we've just been discussing, the business rules we went through, what the seasonal calendar is, right? Like, what are other brands doing, and what campaigns do we have live at the moment? What sort of promotions can we offer to consumers, right, based on those different brands? All this is information right now that would be essentially impossible to do with data because it's all like, language-based data. So as a result, the churn agent is able to bring this all together and provide like a strategy back to the main orchestrator, which then reads that and provides it back to the end user. So this is like a structure of how a lot of agents are designed. And now I'm going to show you a demo of this. Now, I am not Kaz and I'm not Rafa. I'm not a CPO or CEO. I don't need to show you like a live demo. I can have a video. It's much easier. So here we have a video of the churn agent that we've built, right? So the first thing we're going to do is ask it a question. So we will ask it, what is your purpose, right? And it gives us a really nice overview of what it's going to do, what it can help us with, what its approach is, what data it has access to, right? And so we're like, great, okay. Now, let me ask it a question. Help me define a churn strategy for my customers who are going to churn next 30 days, right? So it immediately understands this is a churn question. It should be posed to the churn agent. The churn agent then calls all of that business information we discussed, so it gathers that to understand it, right? In case it's maybe changed since the last time it's ran. And then it calls the insights gatherer. And the insight gatherer, as you can see here, asks a very specific question, right? Of customers in the last 30 days that are going to churn. And what's happening here is that the insight agent is now pulling our customer data and it's querying that. And it's not just querying it once, you'll see it queries multiple times. And I don't know if any of you have been to any of the Foundry booths or to any of the workshops, but this is Treasure Data Foundry, and you can build all of this in Treasure Data today with like the functionality that exists, right? So as you can see here, the queries get more and more complicated. Initially, we ask a very basic question, but then over time, where it's iterating and it's digging into that data to find more insights that it knows it can provide back to the churn agent. And eventually, it provides its response, and the churn agent, with that business logic, then produces an answer. So once it produces that answer, which is coming here, it gives us a load of really useful information about who the customers are churning, the brand, what promotion we should offer, right? And this all looks great, but maybe it's not in the right format we want, right? So give me this in a table format, right? Something that I can share with a team that's really, really simple. And with just one prompt, we're able to produce a really clear table that shows the customer segments, right? The targeting criteria, who we should be going after, what the promotion strategy should be for those users, what the channel is, what the timing and frequency should be, and really importantly, the rationale, why it is decided to make that decision, which is something that Deanne will talk about in a second, about why that's really important. And ultimately here, this is a job that would take weeks to plan, right? And within 2 minutes, you've done it with an agent. So it's an example of something you can sort of supercharge this whole process, and something that would never have been possible this time last year is now really, really easy to do. So I'm going to hand back over to Deanne now, who's going to take you through more about if we are going to trust agents with this sort of process and this data, how can we make sure we have the right governance in place to make sure that we can actually trust the responses they give us?
Thank you, Justin. So yeah, some of you probably was thinking when you were watching the agenting work that, okay, if I'm going to offload all this to my agent, how do I make sure I can trust them? And also, Kaz has mentioned twice, some of the agents only have a success rate of 50%. So, how do I know this is going to be better than flipping a coin? The truth is that if you want to be able to trust the output, you firstly need to have faith, and you need to know you can trust how you design the agent. Because one of the things we really need to know is for the agent to start working for you, the hard work is in the beginning when you are designing it. So this is why when we talk about governance, human in the loop is always the phrase that's been mentioned, but it's rarely been mentioned of how humans in the loop in the designing phase. Because usually you will hear human in the loop as a checkup point, but that's not going to work if the way you design the agent, the way you prompt engineer it, it's not following a logical process that a human would have handled it the same way. So when we are talking about human in the loop, we are talking about designing the guardrail. So are you clear about your business constraints? How would you make the decision if you have as much time as possible? What are the complexities in your organization? You have to feed this information in a structured way to the agent. In the demo you just saw, we didn't just ask the agent, hey, we've got 3 brands, we want to diversify, give me personalized activations. We actually have to train the agent. What are the different personalities between the 3 brands? What are our business constraints? What's the priority or hierarchy in the business priorities? And we have to give the agent some parameters as well. If we want to tell the agent, okay, I want it to be personalized, but we need to strike a balance between personalization and scalability, well, give it specific parameters. In the demo we showed you, we told the agent, we are not interested in any segment that's smaller than 5,000 because then our operation becomes unmanageable. If we want to tell the agent, okay, first business rule, priority is protect margin. Give the agent some ideas, how can they protect margin? We specifically brief the agent that you can protect margin by letting most customer to be won back organically through already scheduled seasonal campaigns, so that we're not on top of the seasonal campaign still sending our churn prevention offer, which will then hurt our business margin. Second thing in governance is about data. We have to put data front and center, and we have to be very aware if we will be using data for training the agent, where does the data sit? We don't recommend sending data outside of your Martech system. We can use solutions such as having a synthetic database as a model to help train your agents. Third thing, transparency. You want to trust your agent. You want the agent not to only tell you what, but also tell you why. So this is why we need a transparency log. We want to understand how they came to the conclusion, the output, and there needs to be a way for us to look into the reasoning process. It cannot be a black box. And through optimizing this process and looking at the activity log, this is where we start to build reinforcement learning process with the agent, so that we don't aim for the agent to get 80% accuracy rate from the day one, but over time we are pushing for that 99.9%. And if you were to start building everything within Foundry, then you are kind of eliminating the risk of sending data outside, because everything will be, all the data will be, and the AI agent will be sitting in one ecosystem, and they don't need to leave the infrastructure you already have. Now, before we close, I do want you to have a framework, like I mentioned in the beginning of the session, that if you were to bring this idea to your team, to your boss, to your colleagues, where can you start? And in Silverbullet, we love building framework like this to help to give you a Kickstarter in terms of how to approach a new challenging topic. So we believe that for any type of AI-first transformation to work in your organization, you need to have a top-down approach, and to help. And this framework is here to help visualize what business functions do you need to consider when you are reimagining how AI can transform your work. And when I say top-down here, I don't mean it in a hierarchy kind of way. I'm talking about it's more a sequential matter. We start by understanding the type of engagement you want to change. Where do you believe that intelligence can bring critical changes to either how you engage with your customers or how you engage with your employees? Secondly, before jumping into AI decisions, you kind of have to have a reality check as well, because it's not always better to have AI. Sometimes rule-based automation is good enough. In order for AI to really make a difference to your business, ask yourself, have you got clarity on your data maturity? Do you know your business constraints between departments very well? Can you make that decision if it was up to you? And do you have a kind of approach? Where do you start? When you start, where do you start in your decision evaluation process? Once those questions are cleared, you need to start thinking about the type of agent crew you want to assemble. Usually, as Kaz mentioned this morning, there will be a super agent sitting above all the agent crew, and we call it orchestrator agent in our demo. And what are the sub-agents, smaller scopes of tasks that you need to distribute to this new crew? Then you have to consider tech and data. What will be your technical environment for you to safely train up your agents? And lastly, what are the operation model that to make it happen? Because none of this is going to stick without your people, without your culture change, without your process. Do you need to start developing new talents within the organization? And you're most likely to be needing a center of excellence that look after the AI risks and compliance to make sure your business have a North Star in terms of how to become an AI-first organization. So on that note, that is everything we have today to show you. And once again, we really thank you for spending your time with us here in this session.